Paulo Coelho, a Brazilian famous writer, a Nobel Prize winner, and this is a novel written by Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist. It is one of the world's best-selling book. So he had written this, The Alchemist, a very popular novel also, became very popular. And let me tell you about The Alchemist. It is a very symbolic novel, and allegoric and symbolic novel, The Alchemist. So the story of this novel starts. A recurring dream troubles Santiago. Santiago is a hero, a protagonist of this novel, The Alchemist, a young and adventurous Andalusian shepherd. He has the dream every time he sleeps under a sycamore tree that grows out of the ruins of a church. During the dream, a child tells him to seek treasure at the foot of Egyptian pyramid. Santiago consults a gypsy woman to interpret the dream, and to his surprise she tells him to go to Egypt. A strange magical old man named Melchizedek, who claims to be the king of Salim. He calls the gypsies' advice and tells Santiago that it is his personal legion to journey to the pyramid. Melchizedek convinced Santiago to sell his flock and set off to Tangier. When Santiago arrives in Tangier, a thief robs him, forcing him to work with the local crystal merchant. The conservative and kindly merchant teaches Santiago several lessons, and Santiago encouraged the merchant to take risk with his business. The risk pays off, and Santiago becomes a rich man in just a year. Santiago decides to cash in his earning and continue pursuing his personal legion to find treasure at the pyramid. He joins a caravan crossing the Sahara Desert toward Egypt and meets an Englishman who is studying to become an alchemist. He learns a lot from the Englishman during the journey, for when he learns that the secret of alchemy is written on a stone called the Emerald Tablet. The ultimate creation of alchemy is the masterwork, which consists of a solid called the philosopher's stone that can turn lead to gold, and a liquid called the elixir of life that can cure all ills. Santiago learns the Englishman is traveling with a caravan to the Saharan oasis of Al-Fayoum, where a powerful 200-year-old alchemist resides. The Englishman plans to ask the alchemist the secret of his trade. As it turns out, the caravan must make an extended stop in Al-Fayoum in order to avoid increasingly violent tribal war taking place in the desert. There, Santiago falls in love with Fatima, who lives at Oasis. During a walk in the desert, Santiago witnesses an omen that portends an attack on the historically neutral Oasis. He warns the tribal chieftain of the attacks, and as a result, Al-Fayoum successfully defends itself against the assault. The alchemist gets word of Santiago's vision and invites Santiago on a trip into the desert, during which he teaches Santiago about the importance of listening to his heart and pursuing his personal legend. He convinces Santiago to leave Fatima and the caravan for the time to finish his journey to the pyramid, and he offers to accompany Santiago in the next leg of his trip. While the alchemist and the Santiago continue through the desert, the alchemist shares much of his wisdom about the soul of the world. They are mere days away from the pyramid when a tribe of Arab soldiers captures them. In exchange for his life and the life of Santiago, the alchemist hands over to the tribe all of Santiago's money and tells the soldier that Santiago is a powerful alchemist who will turn into wind within 3 days. Santiago feels alarmed because he has no idea how to turn into the wind, and over the next 3 days he contemplates the desert. On the 3rd day he communicates with the wind and the sun and coaxes them to help him create a tremendous sandstorm. He prays to the hand that wrote all, and at the height of the storm he disappears. He reappears on the other side of the camp, and the tribesmen, awed by the power of the storm and by Santiago's ability, let him and the alchemist go free. The alchemist continues to travel with Santiago as far as the Coptic monastery, several hours from the pyramid. There he demonstrates to Santiago his ability to turn lead into gold using the philosopher's stone. He gives Santiago gold and sends him off. Santiago begins digging for the treasure at the foot of the pyramid, but 2 men accost him and beat him. When Santiago speaks to them about his dream vision, they decide he must have no money and let him live. Before leaving, one of the men tries to illustrate the worthlessness of dream by telling Santiago about his own dream. It concerns a treasure buried in an abandoned church in Spain where a sycamore tree grows. The church is the same one in which Santiago and his original dream. And he finally understands where his treasure is. He returned to Spain to find a chest of jewels and gold buried under the tree, and plans to return with it to Al-Fayoum, where he will reunite with Fatima, who awaits him. So this is the story of this alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And the theme of this novel is that it is, first of all, it is an allegoric novel with a double meaning, a centrality of personal legend. According to the alchemist, personal legends serve as the only means by which an individual can live in a satisfying life. In fact, the universe can only achieve perfection if all neutral things continuously undergo a cycle of achieving their personal legend, evolving into a higher being with a new personal legend, and then pursuing that new goal. This concept that the individualistic pursuit of personal legend exists as life dominant, a spiritual demand. So, the unity of nature, the alchemist, the spiritual unity represented by the soul of the world binds together all of nature, from human being to desert, sand. This idea underlines the parallel we see in the novel between the alchemist purifying metal into gold and Santiago purifying himself into someone capable of achieving his personal legend. According to the novel, the soul of the world has created an ultimate desire or personal legend for everything, whether Santiago or a piece of iron. To accomplish its personal legend, each thing must learn to tap into the soul of the world, which purifies it. This continual purification ultimately leads to perfection. This notion of human metals and all other things sharing the same goal demonstrates that all elements in nature are essentially different forms of single spirit. The danger of fear. Fear persistently comes up throughout Santiago's journey as the primary obstacle to Santiago's successfully achieving his personal legend. Santiago experiences several forms of fear. a childhood fear of having gypsy woman interrupt his dream, a material fear of losing his wealth by deporting to Tangier or by joining the desert caravan, the physical fear of dying in the battle at Al-Fayoum, and the spiritual fear that he will fail to turn himself into the wind. Then the alchemist forces him to try. Santiago mentors from Alchemist to the alchemist condemn fear by comparing it to the materialism. So these are the themes of this book, The Alchemist, written by Paulo Coelho, a very wonderful novel, a international bestseller novel, and no doubt very popular nowadays among the folks. I hope you will enjoy it when you will read it. Thank you very much.